You ever have one of those days where everything hangs on something teeny, a click, a word, a breath? Yeah, that was me, standing in my own driveway with the sun frying the back of my neck and Caramy neighbor standing over me, snapping my EpiPen in half like she was doing the world a favor. I swear for a second, I just stood there cold and breathe, couldn't even blink, feeling my throat tighten up, watching my whole world shrink down to this one stupid, dangerous moment. You know what I mean? All I could think was, wow, she just killed me. And yeah, I guess I should back up and explain. So, I live in this picture-perfect suburban neighborhood, right? The kind with matching mailboxes and flower beds. No one actually plants themselves. It's all clean lines, fake smiles, and the type of neighbors who know your business better than you do. And Karen, Welsh, the unofficial queen of the block, clipboard always at the ready, phone set to 911 on speed dial, always lurking for some made-up infraction. She lives for drama. Trash cans an inch off the curb. Expect a warning. Dandelion in the grass. Here comes an email. God forbid you break a rule. But what nobody here gets is that I have a life-threatening allergy. I'm talking full-on, ambulance needed, stop the world kind of allergy. Just a bite of the wrong cookie, a random bee sting, a stray peanut, and it's lights out for me. So I keep EpiPens everywhere, purse, car, pockets, bathroom, you name it. That little device is literally my lifeline, not some accessory. But people like Karen, they only see what they want to see. The day it happened was scorching one of those August afternoons where even the birds look tired. I was out front pulling weeds, trying to mind my own business, sweat dripping, when Karen came marching over, arms folded, lips pinched so tight they were white. She gave me this once-over, eyes narrowed, and just hissed, "The HOA doesn't allow weeds in the front yard." Like, really? I wiped my hands on my shorts and tried to joke it off. "They're dandelions, Karen. Relax, it's not the end of the world." But with her, everything's life or death. Well, except when it actually is. She just couldn't let it go. Took another step closer, and suddenly I felt that telltale itch in my throat like a warning siren in my own body. My tongue started to swell. My vision got spotty. Oh God, not now. I thought, but I tried to play it cool. Reached for my EpiPen, hands shaking, desperate for a second to breathe. But the second Karen saw me pull out, she just lost her mind. "What's that?" she shrieked. "It's medicine," I croaked, barely getting the words out. "It's an EpiPen. I need it." But before I could even finish, she slapped it right out of my hand. The sound it made hitting the concrete is stuck in my head, the snap of the plastic, then her heel grinding it to pieces. "You're not threatening me with that," she screamed, arms flailing like I'd drawn a weapon. "I know a taser when I see one." At that point, everything started spinning. I hit my knees, scraping them raw, just clawing at the air, trying to suck in one more breath. The world faded to a tunnel. I barely remember the neighbors running out, people shouting, someone calling for help. Karen, of course, was front and center, screaming about safety and dangerous people. Meanwhile, I was barely holding on. Next thing I know, I'm waking up in the hospital. My arms are full of IVs, my chest aches, and there's this doctor standing over me, telling me straight if the ambulance had been even 2 minutes later, I wouldn't be here telling this story. They saved my life, but the only thing I felt was rage-pure, gut-wrenching anger. Karen had smashed my only shot at survival, and for what? Because she didn't understand, or didn't want to. As soon as I could sit up, I called the cops. And that's where things got really twisted. When they came to talk to her, she actually tried to flip the whole thing around, claimed I'd threatened her, that I lunged at her with a dangerous device, said she was just protecting herself. I wish I was making that up. Meanwhile, I'm in a hospital bed because of her, barely able to talk. Thankfully, the police knew when EpiPen was, and 3 different neighbors told them what really happened. Still, Karen kept at it, insisting she was the victim. But of course, in this neighborhood, you can't sneeze without the HOA wanting to make a federal case out of it. They called this big meeting to review the situation, like my allergic reaction was some kind of personal failing or a rule I'd broken. I showed up anyway, bruised, stitched up, hand bandaged. Karen sat across from me, flanked by her little group of followers, acting like she was being persecuted. When it was my turn to talk, I laid it all out: me allergy, the EpiPen, the panic, the hospital, the whole disaster. You could have heard a pin drop in that stuffy conference room. Even her closest allies looked shaken, shifting in their seats. But Karen just leaned forward and said, "I was acting in self-defense. I thought it was a weapon. How was I supposed to know? That was it for me." I just stared at her and said, "You don't get to call it self-defense when your ignorance almost killed me. You broke my lifeline, Karen. That's not self-defense. That's assault." People started murmuring, some even shouting. The cop who'd come to observe just got up and walked right over to Corinne and hesitate, just cuffed her, read her rights. She freaked out, yelling about harassment, threatening lawsuits, the whole thing. But the room was done with her drama. She got charged felony assault, reckless endangerment. For the first time, Karen wasn't in control. And the HOA? They just sat there, silent. Their golden girl had fallen, and nobody wanted to claim her now. Here's the thing, though justice feels good, but it doesn't erase the fear. Sometimes I wake up gasping, hands searching for my EpiPen in the dark. I keep backups everywhere now, one in every room. I never walk outside without triple checking. Karen's still here, technically out on bail, waiting for trial, but she won't look at me, won't say a word. Her husband left her. The HOA voted her off the board, and her army of cronies disappeared like smoke. She spends her days peeking through blinds, hiding in her own house. It's honestly kind of sad. She tried to protect the neighborhood from me, but all she did was burn down her own life. Karma, right? Sometimes it doesn't tap gently, it explodes, loud as a plastic pin breaking in the driveway. And now I finally get to breathe, even if I never forget what happened. That pain isn't mine to carry. Anna Marie, it's hers. But hey, let's be real. Not everyone gets this kind of ending. Some folks never see justice, or they end up being the Karen without even knowing it. So what do you think? Was this justice, or just more drama? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Tell me where you stand on right, wrong, and all this HOA madness. And if you've got your own wild story, don't be shy. Share it below. This community is built on real talk. Hit like, hit subscribe, and stick around because trust me, there's always another crazy story just around the corner. Funny thing is, after everything blew up, you'd think the drama would finally settle down, right? But living here, that's just wishful thinking. See, I couldn't shake the paranoia. Every time I stepped outside, I felt eyes on me from behind curtains, through those little slats in the blinds, neighbors pretending to water their plants, whispering when they thought I couldn't hear. I like to say I didn't care, but you know what? I'm only human. I get these little flashbacks every time I walk past the spot where my EpiPen got crushed, like my body remembered before my brain did. Heart thumping, palms sweaty, checking my pockets twice, sometimes 3 times, just to make sure I wasn't caught off guard again. Karen's house turned into the neighborhood ghost story overnight. One day, there were SUVs in the driveway. Landscaping always perfect, her little garden flags changed out for every holiday, and the next day just silence. No more kids riding bikes past her yard. No dog walkers stopping to chat. Her husband packed up one weekend and was gone before anyone even noticed, like he'd been planning his escape for months. The HOA didn't talk about it out loud, but you could tell their golden age was over. Karen had ruled with fear, and without her, everyone started acting different. More relaxed, more real. People started waving to each other again. A few neighbors even brought over brownies like they were apologizing for being complicit, or maybe just relieved someone had finally stood up to her. But let me tell you, that first HOA meeting after everything went down, absolutely wild. I almost didn't go, half expecting some kind of weird payback, but curiosity got the better of me. The board was missing its queen bee, and suddenly, all the little worker bees didn't know what to do. There was this awkward silence. Nobody wanted to bring up the incident, but you could feel it sitting there between us, heavy as a thundercloud. And then, out of nowhere, Mr. Petrie, the guy with the rose bushes and the car that never fits in his garage, spoke up. He said, "Maybe it's time we rethink some of these rules. Maybe we stop worrying so much about lawns and start worrying about people." I nearly fell out of my chair. This was the same guy who'd once threatened to fine me for having a blue mailbox flag. That's when something shifted. People started really talking for the first time since I moved in. There were stories about Karen no one had dared share before. How she'd yelled at the mailman. How she once reported a family for leaving up Halloween decorations 2 days too long. How she made a single mom cry over the wrong shade of mulch. Turns out, I wasn't the only one she targeted, just the first to fight back hard enough that everyone else could finally breathe. I could see the relief in their faces, that spark of hope when someone who'd felt powerless finally saw things change. But of course, nothing's ever that easy. A couple of weeks later, a letter arrived anonymous, typed, no return address, but the tone was unmistakable. It basically accused me of bringing shame to the neighborhood. Said I'd embarrassed everyone by going public with the story. I'll admit, for a minute it got to me. Made me wonder if I'd made everything worse. But then, you know what? I remembered the EMT telling me I'd almost died. Remembered the way Karen looked at me, not like a person, but like a problem she wanted to erase. That's when I realized I'd rather be hated for telling the truth than loved for keeping quiet. So I stopped hiding. I started running again, even if it meant jogging past Karen's empty house. I joined the neighborhood Facebook group, commented on threads, even hosted a block party first time ever. People actually showed up, laughed, ate burnt hot dogs. A couple of the older ladies hugged me, told me they were proud I hadn't let fear win. As for Karen, last I heard she was still waiting on her court date, lawyered up, blaming everyone but herself. Some said she was staying with her sister a few towns over. Others whispered she'd started sending nasty letters to her old church. I don't know, and honestly, I don't care. She's out of my life, and for the first time in a long while, I feel like I can finally breathe. But the scars don't just vanish. I still get jumpy when people knock on my door, still double-check my EpiPen every morning. Sometimes, when the wind rattles the windows late at night, I hear Karen's voice echoing, accusing, paranoid, desperate. And I wonder, how many other Karens are out there? How many people stay silent because they're scared to stir things up? You know, it's weird, but in a way, Karen did me a favor. She forced me to stop pretending, to pick sides, to stand up even when my legs were shaking. Now, whenever someone complains about the HOA, or some neighbor tries to flex a little too much power, people look my way not for permission, but for courage. And I give them a nod like, yeah, it's your turn now. So, I guess what I'm saying isn't wait for your own Karen to push you to the edge. Speak up, even if your voice shakes, even if you think nobody's listening. Because trust me, there's always someone watching, someone wishing they could do the same. And if you've ever been through anything like this, drop your story in the comments. I want to know I'm not the only one who's faced down a bully and lived to tell about it. Was I right? Was I wrong? Where's the line between protecting yourself and becoming the thing you hate? Hit subscribe, stick around, and let's keep this conversation going. You never know who needs to hear it.